So welcome to this webinar. This is a monthly edition of our DTV webinar series. Today we are going to learn all about cargo bikes. So we have a great guest speaker for you this time, which is Anna-Karina Reibold from the European Cyclists Federation. She will introduce herself in a bit. So we have about 30 minutes with a little bit of slack here and there. I will introduce to you the agenda, then of course the main course with Anna-Karina. Then I will have some information about further learning opportunities, and then we have plenty of time to address your questions if you have any. My name is Taye Goris. I work at a company called DTV Consultants. So we are traffic engineers, and we do a lot of things related to cycling and cyclist safety. And next to our work or research and consultancy work, we also do trainings and capacity building. I will tell you a bit more about that later on. We are a member of the Dutch Cycling Embassy, which is an NGO gathering all expertise and knowledge from Netherlands, from various organizations, research institutes, companies, governments that are involved in the network. So have a look at the website, dutchcycling.nl, to learn more. There's a great wealth of resources available there as well. The reason why we organize this is that we like to share our knowledge. As mentioned, we train and teach, and we hope to help you build beautiful, successful bicycle infrastructure, no matter where you are in the world and where you are in your development. Our ambition is to help you to set the first next step. Cargo bikes is an interesting topic. It's a lot of things to tell about. I'm not the expert in that, but on this relevant subject, I would like to introduce to you Anna-Karina Reibold, who's going to tell us all about the cargo bikes here. So Anna-Karina, you can take over the screen and introduce yourself, and then the floor is yours.
So hello, everyone. I'm delighted to be here in this webinar today. As Taye said, my name is Anna-Karina, and I am Policy and Communications Officer at the European Cyclists Federation. And today I would just like to give you maybe a general overview of cargo bikes, what they're used for, what they are. And then also the second part of my presentation will focus on cargo bike friendly cities. What is it that makes cities cargo bike friendly? And I will also talk about some of ECF's research and the Cargo Bike Friendly Cities dashboard that we published earlier this year. I won't be able to go into every detail, and I won't be able to cover all aspects of cargo bikes and cargo bike friendliness, but I'm hoping to just cover some of the key elements today. Just a quick note on who we are in case you're not familiar with the European Cyclists Federation. We're the European umbrella federation of member-based civil society organizations advocating and working for more and better cycling. And we promote cycling as a healthy and sustainable mode of transport and leisure. And we have more than 70 member organizations from over 40 countries. You can see them right here on this map. If you want to know a bit more about the European Cyclists Federation, I invite you to have a look at ecf.com. So maybe we can just start a bit with what is a cargo bike and who uses cargo bikes. So cargo bikes are bicycles that have been specifically designed to carry cargo, be it light, heavy, small, or big, and they come in many different shapes and sizes, which also makes them very versatile. And I think the interesting part here is also that cargo bikes have been around for more than a century, so it's nothing new, and they actually used to be quite a common sight on our streets a few decades ago. But what we're currently seeing in Europe is a cargo bike renaissance, so they're becoming more popular again, and we see more and more cargo bikes on our streets all over Europe. And that is also just because they're adaptable to so many different use cases. So we see couriers and delivery services all over Europe using cargo bikes, or businesses might be using them for their own deliveries. But you also have craftspeople, such as electricians or plumbers, increasingly using cargo bikes. as well as local authorities who are using them for things like street cleaning, park maintenance, or mobile libraries, as you can see right here in this example from the city of Strasbourg. And also mobile street vending is increasingly performed using cargo bikes, from coffee to beer cargo bikes or catering. And let's not forget, of course, about private logistics, where it's used for carrying goods, purchases, children, the elderly, dogs, or anything really. But there's also so much more to it, and costs are so versatile and adaptable to so many different use cases. We can almost say that their potential is almost limitless. So what we see here is a mobile garden that is used in the city of Graz in Austria. So the cargo bike unfolds into a bench and can be parked in parking spaces, and flowers can be planted on it. So it also provides a nice meeting spot for the neighborhood. Let's just have a look at some of the benefits of cargo bikes. So cargo bikes save 5 tons of CO2 emissions per year. So they're very environmentally friendly, and they make cities greener. They reduce noise pollution, and they also only use 5% of the materials and energy of a car. In a previous project that ECF participated in, we had a look at the potential of cargo bikes. So we came to the conclusion that actually 51% of all motorized trips associated with the goods could be shifted to bicycles or cargo bikes. And on top of that, cycling cities, as we all know, are of course healthier cities, and it just makes for a better functioning and more livable city. What we've also been seeing is that congestion and traffic is redefining human spaces, and it's affecting the way we move around city. It's affecting safety, and this is where cargo bikes also have massive potential just to make our cities more enjoyable, more livable, safer, especially as vans and trucks, for example, are responsible for about 14% of fatal collisions. If cargo bikes were to replace a big part of that, it would make our cities much safer. Also because they're just very versatile and adaptable to so many different uses. It makes cycling and transport more equitable, more accessible. As you can see here, it can be adapted to the needs of people with reduced mobility, elderly or disabilities, or used to carry them around. Also, when we look at gender equality, it's also very interesting how cargo bikes can improve that, because in most European countries, with a few exceptions, usually it's more men than women that cycle, whereas for cargo bikes, it's often the other way around. That's also due to the fact that women move differently across the city than men. So unfortunately, still a lot of the care, work, and domestic burden falls upon women, so they tend to make more chain trips, which means they need a vehicle that's adapted to different purposes, from carrying children to cycling to work or grocery shopping. And as I said, the second part of my presentation will focus on what it is that makes a city cargo bike friendly. So at ECF, we have been doing some research into what we think are the key elements of a cargo bike friendly city, and what it is that makes it accommodating also to new users of cargo bikes. And with that in mind, we published a cargo bike friendly cities dashboard earlier this year. The dashboard provides data on 125 European cities and on different aspects of cargo bike friendliness. So we use it to visualize, track, and compare projects, investments, and conditions throughout Europe. It's also a great collection of best practices. So if you're in need of some inspiration, or you want to know what your neighboring city is doing, it's a great tool to check out. We weren't able to do this research for the whole of Europe. So for now, we decided just to do it for 125 European cities across 33 countries. We chose the city based on population size. So of all the 33 countries, we have the capital city included in the dashboard, and then the number of cities will depend on population size. So France, Germany, and Poland have 8 or 9 cities included in the dashboard, but each country has at least one. So the way we started with this research, we thought about some aspects that we think should be included in a cargo bike friendly city, and also some of the things we can measure. So first of all, we looked at cargo bike sharing schemes that are available in the cities. That's a very important aspect of cargo bike friendliness, because not everyone needs a cargo bike at all times, or it's also a great way of introducing new users to cargo bikes. Then we looked at incentive schemes because although compared to a car, then cargo bikes are relatively cheap, the high cost is still a major barrier that's preventing people from buying a cargo bike. So we looked at whether or not the city provides direct purchase incentives for cargo bikes, or it has a scrappage scheme in place, which offers some kind of incentives in return for people scrapping their car. And under projects, we looked at some soft measures that cities are doing to support the uptake of cargo bikes, ranging from tryout schemes to communication measures, especially in cities that maybe don't have a strong cycling culture yet. It's very good to spread the word and let people know what it even is a cargo bike, because very often people may not even know about this vehicle. And then, of course, urban context and infrastructure is key. So we looked at the urban environment of a city to see if they have some of the things that we think are necessary to make it welcoming for cargo bikes. And as I just explained in the benefits of cargo bikes are very good to make cycling more inclusive. So we also looked at whether or not there's some programs in place in the respective city that make cargo bikes and cycling more accessible. And we also looked at the manufacturer space in those cities and whether or not a city is leading by example. With that, we mean are cities using cargo bikes for their own internal operations, and are they therefore showing citizens what can be done with cargo bikes by using them themselves? The data we have collected it on publicly available sources and also in collaboration with our members and networks. And we have been tracking everything dating back to 2018. The reason for that being is because very often people talk about the cargo bike boom or how cargo bikes are increasing on our streets. So we wanted to be able to back that up with a bit of data. So everything you'll find in this dashboard dates back to 2018. And we try to regularly update it about 2 or 3 times per year. And the last major update was done in June 2023. And the next one is due to take place early next year. So this is just a glimpse of the dashboard. It is quite a comprehensive tool. It has more than 130 pages. We have 1 page per city. Here you can see an example of London, and the pages for the cities really give a very detailed breakdown of what's going on in those cities. And it is publicly available sources. That means you can click on anything in a dashboard and you will be linked back to the original source. Because of course we cannot really give detailed descriptions of everything in a dashboard. You can just click on a link yourself and then maybe have a look at what exactly that project that we mentioned in the dashboard is about. And on top of that, we have European overview pages, which just give an indication of what's going on a more European level and how things have been evolving with time. Now I'd just like to give you an overview of how this looks for each indicator. So we looked at sharing schemes, and whenever I'm mentioning any figure here, I'm only referring to the 125 European cities, not the whole of Europe. So for the cities that we examined, we found that 38 cities have a sharing scheme in place, and that there's a total of 75 sharing schemes, meaning that some cities like Hamburg here have 5 or 6, but unfortunately, a lot of cities don't have any yet. And there are very many different types of sharing schemes, from commercially operated sharing schemes to those run by municipalities. There can also be community bike, where you can rent it for free or in return for a small donation, or be integrated with public transport systems. So like cargo bikes, it's very versatile and there are very many different options. For incentive schemes, as I said, it's very important because the price is a big barrier to the uptake of cargo bikes. But also incentive schemes are becoming increasingly popular. So in 2022, we found that there were more than 30 across the cities that we sampled. And what you can see here is the example of Vienna. And we looked at incentives that are available for cargo bikes, e-cargo bikes, adapted bikes, and trailers. And you can see right here in this graph how much money there's available for each type of bikes. Below that, you'll find some information on the target group, on the time period within which it's available, as well as on the total budget. Next to the chart, there's a bit of information on the history of the scheme. So were there any incentive schemes in the past? And if so, we put them next to the chart in those little bubbles. You can see when they were available, what the total budget is. And we also tried to have a look at the impact of these schemes. So when we were able to find a number, we also put how many cargo bikes were actually purchased as a result of those incentive schemes. And for urban context, we have a checklist of whether or not a city has some of those, let's call it basic requirements maybe, that make a city cargo bike friendly. So I just talked about incentives, but it's also important to have some restrictions in place, for example, access restrictions for certain types of vehicles, which can be enforced through low emission zones. So we looked at whether a city has low emission zones, because that's great for cyclogistics, because you'll be able to enter those low emission zones with cargo bikes. And then also we tried to find a location of speed limit zones, or saw if the city has speed limits, yes or no. Especially when it comes to safety and safe cycling, it's good to have lower speed limits, especially if there's no segregated infrastructure. And in terms of policy, at the moment, we're looking at sustainable urban mobility plans. Does the city have one in place? If so, does it mention cargo bikes as a solution? We also had a look at cargo bike parking spaces. As you can imagine, we were never really able to find a concrete number of how many parking spaces there are in a city, but we just looked at whether or not the city is making some kind of attempts to implement cargo bike parking spaces, because it's a very valuable type of vehicle. So people want to be able to park it safely, because that's also like a barrier that could be preventing people from purchasing the cargo bike. And then last but not least, we look at how many kilometers of cycle lanes there are in a city. So this is not a full-blown analysis, of course, of the infrastructure in the respective cities, but it does give some kind of indication of what is in place and what is not. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but it's just a resource I'd like to point out as part of the City Changer Cargo Bike project, which some of you may know. A guide on how to accommodate infrastructure to cargo bikes was published, and it has a checklist ranging from how wide does a bike lane have to be to how to secure parking spaces. So if you want to have a look at that, you can find it on cyclogistics.eu. And then we looked at some of the soft measures, like projects that the city is involved in, the city initiates, or the city supports. So this can range from pilot projects to projects on implementing a micro hub, or European projects, local projects, information campaigns, anything really. Here are just a few examples I'd like to highlight. So for example, in Stockholm, the city's using cargo bikes to maintain bike lanes, or in Lisbon, also as part of the City Changer Cargo Bike projects in 2022, they held a tryout scheme where families and businesses could rent a cargo bike for a month. And in Leipzig delivers mail between institutions by cargo bikes. So these cities are or have been leading by example and showing citizens what cargo bikes can be used for. And then together with Cycling Industries Europe, we looked at the cargo bike manufacturers that are located in the city. So as I mentioned earlier, cargo bikes is a very quickly developing field, and there's a lot happening. So we published this tool in 2023 in the end of February, and we updated the data in June. And just in those few months, more than 150 new projects were implemented in the 125 European cities. We also took a closer look at how many cities have sustainable urban mobility plans. So it is 96, at least where we could find a record of it online. And out of those, 43 make mention of cargo bike. And since 2018, we have also seen a 7-fold increase in the number of incentive schemes. And for 13 cities, we were able to find concrete numbers of how many cargo bikes have been purchased thanks to that. So it's more than 14,500 cargo bikes that were purchased thanks to the incentive schemes since 2018, just for 13 cities. And if you have a look at this map right here, what we did here is we mapped the evolution of cargo bike sharing. So in the bottom right-hand corner, you see when the sharing scheme was implemented. So it has the year. And when you click play, it just shows you it's just becoming so much more popular and more cities are implementing these schemes. And what is it that we want to achieve with this data? So planning for cargo bikes sometimes can be difficult because of the lack of data. So we just wanted to establish some baseline data and make it publicly available, and also create a source of inspiration and a collection of best practices on what is currently being done in Europe on cargo bikes. And we also just want to give evidence of the potential and significance of cargo bikes, because everyone's always talking about that, and we need data to be able to back that up. And of course, we want to provide a resource for policymakers, businesses, and activists, anyone really that works or is interested in cargo bikes. And ultimately, our goal, of course, is to have cargo bike friendlier cities and greater use of cargo bikes. So that was my introduction to cargo bikes and what we think it is that makes a city cargo bike friendly. You can see my email address right here. And if you want to check out the dashboard, you can scan this QR code, but I can also maybe put the link in the chat. Maybe that's easiest.
Yeah, please do so, Anna-Karina. Thank you very much. Before we go to the Q&As, we've been learning a lot already about cargo bikes, all these different examples, and it's really great to learn more about the dashboard that contains all this wealth of information and knowledge. What we will also share in the chat is a link to an e-learning we developed in the context of Civitas, the EU initiative on sustainable urban mobility. So a part of this knowledge has been translated into an e-learning, which you can follow free of charge. The only thing you need to do is to sign up, make a user account, and then you can take this e-course, but also take other e-learnings that are available on the Civitas e-learning platform. If you really want to learn more about infrastructure, some principles for success, how you can apply it anywhere on the world. I see people from Ecuador, Singapore, US, Europe, and beyond. I believe also New Zealand here and there. So basically, we cover all the time zones in the world, roughly put. We really teach you the main principles and how to apply it. So we have some lectures. We go outside, we see, experience, and we help you work on your case studies. And this leads to some smiling faces, as you can see here, and on this picture. So it's the week after Velocity. We are in Breda, which is just around the corner after Velocity. It's a 60 minutes drive from Velocity. So if you're considering attending this great conference, then also consider to stay around for a bit longer. Anna-Karina can also tell you all about Velocity, of course. ECF is the key organizer, or the key player there. So this is also where we will conclude the recording.